Harry, thanks. Oil will most likely be on the agenda this morning when British Prime Minister David Cameron meets with President Obama for the first time in the U.S. CBS News senior White House correspondent Bill Plant has more for us this morning. Bill, good morning.
Good morning to you, Erica. Oil is on the agenda, and it's not just the BP spill in the Gulf. It's also the controversy over the release of the only person convicted in the bombing of Pan Am 103. And the question is, was he released as part of a deal with Libya for oil? Before departing for the U.S., Prime Minister David Cameron told the BBC that had he been in charge, he would not have released Lockerbie bomber Abdel Basset al-Megrahi.
As leader of the opposition, I couldn't have been more clear that I thought the decision to release al-Megrahi was completely and utterly wrong.
Al-Megrahi was freed from a Scottish prison last August after doctors said he had only a few months to live. Now, nearly a year later, he's still alive and may live for years. Some in Congress are calling for an investigation into whether British Petroleum pressed for his release in exchange for Libyan oil rights.
I do not know the role that BP played. We certainly didn't agree with the opinion that he should be released, and that's what we enunciated to the government.
Now, a former British government official has admitted talking to BP about the oil lease at the time, but the current foreign minister says that Megrahi's release was a mistake and that BP was not connected with it. Erica?
Bill, thanks. And joining us now from Lansing, Michigan, he is Michigan Republican Congressman Pete Hoekstra, who's ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Sir, good to have you with us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
As we just heard from Bill, all of these allegations coming out, and we're hearing that apparently there wasn't necessarily a connection, but that's not enough for people. Do you believe there could be some sort of a connection between BP, Libya, and the release of al-Megrahi?
Well, sure, there is always that possibility, and this is why the government in the UK is going to have to move forward with an investigation. They made a terrible decision a year ago to release this guy. There was no justification for it. There was no rationale for it. This person was part of a scheme that ended up in 270 people being killed. So there's no rationale, a terrible decision by the government. This government in the UK now has to come back and defend it under these, allegations that there was an oil for release deal made. I'm not sure whether, I don't believe that happened, but this government now has to go move forward and prove that it did not happen.
Do you believe that we'll see the full results then of that investigation? Because if it does turn out that it happened, clearly that
Clearly, and so this is why the UK government, I believe, will be forced to do an investigation, why they will have to share that information with America, and most importantly, why they will have to share that information with the families of the individuals who were killed in that tragic plane crash. We went through this with 9/11. The 9/11 families were a very powerful force in bringing about change in the intelligence community. They forced accountability. I think the same thing will happen here with a Lockerbie bomber.
Sir, I want to ask you now about a report in the Washington Post, a 2-year investigation done about the intelligence community here in the U.S., because, of course, you're a ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Yesterday's report saying that the intelligence community is too big, it's too expensive, it's redundant. You say you agreed with that. Today, the paper is coming out and saying that contractors, which as we know are used across all levels of intelligence apparently, who may not perform inherently government functions, do it all the time, and that what was a temporary fix is dependency. Is the U.S. intelligence community too dependent on contractors?
Well, I think, again, the report that came out today in the Washington Post, I think, is relatively accurate. And the intelligence community continues to be very, very dependent on contractors for some functions which you would believe should inherently be done by government employees.
Is that compromising the safety of this country?
No, I don't think they're compromising the safety, but I think it's bad management practice. If these are inherently government functions, those functions should be done by government employees. They should not be done by contractors. It's just the most effective and the most efficient way to do it is if they were done by government employees and not by these outside organizations.
Can I get a yes or no? Will that change?
I think it will change, but it will change very, very slowly.
All right. Congressman Pete Hoekstra, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Harry?
All right.